What is up, the wonderful people of YouTube? Hope you're doing well. I'm doing great, thank you for asking. Today I thought I'd sit down for a little bit of a leg day walkthrough. Quite often I film my leg days and just leave them a bit raw, but I thought it'd be nice to sort of talk through some of what I think about when I'm training, and sort of just go through what a leg day is like, how it's set up, and what the priorities are. So yeah, let's get cracking on. I always start my leg sessions with an ab movement, as it helps prime me really well for my upcoming movements, whether that's a hack squat or an RDL. Like, bracing is going to be really important, so having my abs switched on is a really good way of just getting myself prepared for it, and without necessarily preparing like the primary muscles, like thinking about things like your quads or your hamstrings. It's more thinking about, okay, my body's going to be able to cope with sort of holding these loads, and sort of more from an injury prevention standpoint, get me into the best positions to be effective in those movements. And then we go into a calf movement, because calves are something that are really easily neglected. So having them early on in the session just means that I'm not going to skip them. Because if I put them at the end, I know I'm going to be trashed, and I want to do it. So putting them first just means they get done. And then moved on to hamstring curls, massive weak point. So really trying to focus on building these up. It's a little bit different, this machine, in terms of range of motion compared to what I had previous at the other gym at Club Woodham. I can't quite get into the same sort of deep stretch, deep contraction, just because of how the machine's lined up, but it's a very nice machine nonetheless, this hamstring stuff. And it's nice to not have to mess around with sort of the knee pad that flips around a lot. But here I'm really trying to focus on sort of having my legs aligned better. So something that I do, and is sort of sometimes conscious, sometimes unconscious, sort of have my knees sort of pointed outwards, so I get a little bit more glute and sort of cheat through the rep. So really trying to maintain some integrity in my sets, and specifically with my hamstring work, especially since they're a weaker body part. My focus is trying to get the best sort of sensation possible, as opposed to necessarily like moving the most amount of load, as they don't grow very easily. I really have to focus on making sure I'm getting the most out of them. And yeah, a couple of changes actually this week. So it used to be 3 sets of hamstring curls, 3 sets of quad, 3 sets of calves, 3 sets of abs, but we've tapered those down just to 2 sets, which is quite nice. It means I'm getting into my heavier work earlier. So the hack squat is now only after 6 sets instead of 9, which is nice. And yeah, it just means that hopefully that makes these sets more productive. Something that's quite nice about training at this new gym is sort of like differences in equipment. I mean, this Cybex hack is the exact same one, just in a different colour, but they've got yoga blocks here instead of the foot pad that I was using before, which actually feels so much nicer. It means I align with the machine a little bit better. So previously my glutes sort of felt like, well, my spine felt like it was sort of off, just because my glutes are right on the pad, whereas here, because I've got the yoga blocks on, my glutes are actually just underneath it, which means that it just feels much better for me. I also get to do this barefoot. I have been using squat shoes for the best part of a year, but I just prefer doing barefoot, to be honest. And I wasn't really able to do that because my foot would be sort of slipping around on the blocks, whereas here, yeah, I'm getting the most out of it. And I'm really enjoying sort of this change in environment, really enjoying these sets. I mean, they've progressed massively at this new gym. I mean, last week, I know I said in a previous video that I wanted to get 4 plates for 15, and I've got 4 plates for 16, the first leg session I did here. So with this hack squat, my main focus is trying to get sort of maximum knee flexion. So I like having my feet slightly pointed out, my knees sort of really close. I feel like I get a better connection with my quads. But then some people have more open hips and are able to maybe get into deeper ranges where their knees are slightly turned out. But that's something that you learn sort of over time, as opposed to, it's not something that I can tell you, you need to squat like this, or you need to do this. And I think that that's something that is kind of undervalued at the moment, is learning for yourself. Like, nobody can tell you how to train effectively for you. People can guide you, but you're going to know how it feels and what feels dangerous and what feels safe. So learning to understand how your body moves and what's going to be ideal for you is important. And I've learned that this is sort of the ideal way for me to set it up. For other people, it may cause some like tendonitis and knee problems, but for me, in this current setup, it feels good. But something that is super duper important is, prior to the set, I'm getting into the necessary headspace to take myself to the point where I can progress. But yeah, so that's where I'm sort of like, I don't know, a little bit of self-talk, finding the right music, the right sort of feeling, and getting myself set for what's going to be pretty tough. And I think that that's going to be more and more important, getting myself into these mental headspaces as prep continues and as it becomes tougher. So don't undervalue how important that is, regardless of what phase you're in, because your training's going to benefit from it. Get a bit of an insight into what I listen to. I love listening to sort of a bit more motivational style stuff, so YouTube's really good for that. There's loads of edits with people like Trained by JP, Tom Platt, Dorian Yates, and I think that really helps me get into the right headspace for these types of sets. But there's nothing quite like having a complete dead stop pause set and just driving muscles to the point of mechanical failure. I mean, it's brutal. Beyond anything, like sort of balancing wise, is just something completely different. And yeah, I'm really enjoying having variety as well. So again, at the other gym I was doing leg press twice a week using the same leg press, which isn't really ideal. Whereas here I'm able to use a hip press and then go on to use like a normal 45-degree leg press on the other days. So that's really pleasant. First set here, as I'm still getting used to it, progression's flowing pretty quick. So I did 5 plates aside for 12 previous week, paused, and then I did a 5 on this week, got 12 again. I still feel like there's probably more there. So that's something that's really exciting about sort of both of these exercises, at least on the top set and on the back off set for this. But the top set of hack, like, it moves so well. I still think there's 2 or 3 reps there, which is really exciting going into the next week of training. And then also with this hip press, I feel like progression is just going to skyrocket. So we'll go 5.5 next week, see if we can push that for 12 again, and then see if I can get, I think it was either the 15th or 16th rep I fail on this back off set, but it is absolutely brutal. But I'm just enjoying sort of having a little bit of a different stimulus and a little bit of a different sort of environment and intensity, which is really cool. It's quite nice to be at a gym where I'm not the only one grunting. I'm not sure if you can hear on the videos, but there was another guy in there training legs pretty bloody hard, so that was pretty cool. As I've got a new camera, like this DJI is really cool. Really good bit of fun, but I'm still messing around with all the settings, so halfway through this session I decided to mess around with the settings more. Massive mistake, because now I look like I'm a bit dead. I'll see if I can fix that. But as of right now I look like a ghost because the white balance is off. But this glute drive is really good. Top set was really rough. I think I had underestimated sort of how tough the 2 sets of hip drive were going to be. So that's something that I can sort of address next week and try and perfect this set a little bit better. But then the back off set was much better. It just felt much more sort of flowy, continuous, and I just got a better connection on my glutes. But as you can tell by this point in the session, I'm pretty trashed. Like it's tough. So I move on to adductors. This is a really nice adductor machine. It's very light. It's a shame that the camera's not in focus, but it feels really good. I'm really trying to focus on sort of keeping everything cemented into the pad and just dragging with my knees. You see a lot of people end up putting like 3 or 4 plates on a gym pin on machines like this, and you can just tell that they're not actually working their adductors. So I'm really trying to focus on having the adductors actually be the driving force as opposed to sort of like maneuvering my body. But with pretty much everything within this session, other than hack squat set and then the top set of hip presses to absolute failures in taking partials or taking as much of a partial as possible. And that's the way I like to train. I think with the hack squat, it's a little bit difficult because I'm so focused on progressing and I don't want to just batter myself for the next week. That's something that I've noticed is with the hack squat, I can over sort of emphasize going to failure and then kind of screw myself up. So instead, I'm trying to be a little bit conservative with it because otherwise I feel like I just can't progress there. But in every other movement within the gym, if I go to failure, I feel good. So yeah, that's something that I think people learn over time is how their body works, what is recoverable and what isn't. So yeah, when I was in my off season, I took those sets to failure as well, but at this point I'm not going to be able to recover from it. So I think it's fine with back off sets, but top sets I'm really trying to just focus on going to the point where I would fail another rep as opposed to failure itself. I sort of have 3 different ab movements that I do. 2 are a cable crunch variant, so one's standing, like you see today, and then one's a kneeling variant, but the last one is a hanging leg raise. So I've got 2 where I'm pulling my upper abs down, and then 1 where I'm pulling my lower abs up. I much prefer sort of like the cable work. I think it's just more enjoyable. But you only need a few sort of ab exercises where you're able to spinal extension and flexion that causes your abs to contract, as opposed to a lot of people sort of focus on having more isometric contractions and having sort of a continuous contraction instead of like actually stretching and contracting like you would with any other muscle group. But another benefit of going to a new gym is new lighting, new posing room, which is pretty cool. I'm still getting used to what lights I should use because there's so many different lights and angles and everything. But I'm pretty happy with how I'm looking. It's not really any different to last time I did a voiceover, just a little bit leaner. During this session, my quads was starting to get more detail. I didn't video like what they were looking like, but I took some photos that I'll put on the screen, and they're starting to look pretty cool. It's the best that I've ever seen my legs, so that's really exciting. Definitely feeling like I am leaning out, but I've got a long time to fully lean out, so I'm not too stressed about rushing anything. We've got 13 weeks, or it might be 12 weeks as of today, until my first show, but we're treating it as a warm-up show, so I want to be at 80% as opposed to 100%. So yeah, definitely no rush there. And yeah, I'm feeling good. The big thing with these leg sessions especially is intensity is everything. And I'm just focusing on trying to keep progression rolling as much as possible, and that's something that I'm happy about, having a slight decrease in volume, because that just allows me to really attack the sets that are most important and sort of the most enjoyable, that being the hack squat set obviously. But that's something that I think I've mentioned before, it's something that I think about days in advance and get excited about sort of the week prior, depending on what I've done that week. I think something that is undervalued that a lot of older bodybuilders sort of talk about is actually visualizing what you're doing. So something that I've done for a while now is really try and visualize exactly what I plan to go in and do. For example, with the hack squat, where I'm putting my feet on the pad, up on the platform, how it feels on my back, how it feels to unrack it, what I'm wearing, what I'm listening to, and get myself into that environment days in advance. I definitely would recommend, if you're someone that is really invested in your training, then think and prioritize what you want to do, even if it's just the night before. So I always do some mobility stuff the night before a leg day, and that's when I'll generally really be thinking about, okay, this is what I want to go and do. And sure, there's always the risk that you won't be able to go and do it, but I think that the old saying of failing to prepare is preparing to fail. So yeah, I'd rather be doing too much than not enough. But yeah, that's sort of some of the thoughts I have going into legs, and I feel like I've not gone into as much detail as I would have liked, but I don't want to ramble for half an hour about how much I enjoy training legs. So yeah, decent session, like pretty happy. Body weight sitting at like 74 kilos, 74.5. This morning I had a new low of 74.2, but for the last sort of 5 days it was about 74.6. So it's nice to see the weight shift a little bit on the dial. But I'm back at full volume, back at full intensity, full training, which is really fun, and hopefully continue to see some progressions in the gym and in the physique, and we'll just keep rolling this journey, this wave of training, and enjoy it. So yeah, I'll see you guys in the next one. Cheers.